Okay, so now we'll continue to look at arrays, but now we'll look at 2D arrays or things that are equivalent to matrices that we started a little bit on in the last exercise. So we have two examples here. We have A and we have B. They kind of have the same elements, but they have different shapes. So A has shape 2, 3 and B has shape 3, 2. So you can index the elements by using the normal indexing syntax you would use for lists, but in this case we would give it 2 inputs in order to get element at entry 0, 0. So in this case 0, 0, and if I did 0, 1, I would get the element at 0, 1. This indexing where I go down and to the right is similar to how you index matrices in mathematics, and that is of course not a coincidence. So this would give me this element, and if I wanted this element I would index it as 1, 2. Remember that it's 0 index, so that's why this is 0, this is 1, and this is 0, 1, 2. So 1, 2. Let's just try 1, 2. And of course you can cheat a little bit and use that the indexes wrap around. So this will always give me like the lower right element. I can do that in B as well, of course. Okay, so more things with indexing. The colon syntax. So let's just look at B again. Let's say that I wanted to select this row. Then the way I could do that is that I could first input 1 because I go down 1, but then if I on the second index give it a colon, it selects the entire row. So that gives me this row, and I can do that column wise as well. So if I select a column, like I select the entire column, but maybe I select the column with index 0, I could do this, and that will give me 0, 2, 4. If I give it a 1 here, give me the next column. And I can of course also ask for the last column like this. So this is how you can access rows and columns in NumPy. And you can actually assign columns as well. So if I did, let's do it like this, if I assign this to, let's say 10, 11, 12, just so it's numbers that are a little bit memorable, it now looks like this. Here I just assigned it to a list, that works, but I could, and maybe it would be a little more consistent to assign it to an array, but it works in either case. Try to imagine what this might do. Let's see. This assigns every single entry in this column to -7. So this is called broadcasting, by the way. You're broadcasting this to many entries. It's just some terminology that commonly comes up. Okay, let me just check if the recording is working. Yeah, I think it is. Good. Okay, so now we printed the first column and the second column, and the element, I think we did that. Print the second and third column. Okay, so now we need to print multiple columns. So in this case, let me do A because it has the right dimension. Then we can take columns, and then I can select column, like I can increase the column count by 2 in each step, and that'll give me like this column, and then skip 1, and then this column. So that's what the 2 will signify. I think this syntax is a little, it's not so commonly used. Typically you will, yeah, this is a little less common use. I would focus on understanding this kind of syntax here, because that's far more commonly used. But you can do this, of course. So maybe you can imagine what happens if I do this. I just get this. Why? Because in this case I select columns. That's what the first column signifies, and then I start with this column, I end just at the end of the array. That's what the next colon will do, and then I jump in steps of 2, and if I jump in steps of 2, there's of course only 1 that's going to be selected, and that's why I get 1 and 4. Okay, good. So compute the sum of the entries of the array. So in this case, again, it's just something that you need to know. If you have an array, there's a sum function, and the sum function will just add everything together. Then you can decide that, like let's suppose that I wanted to create the sum along columns. So I wanted to create a vector that has entries that has as the first element the sum of these two numbers, and then the sum of these two numbers, and then the sum of these two numbers. You can do that by using sum and then give it the integer 0. So 0 refers to the first axis that you want to sum along. So in this case you get 0.3, 0 plus 3, that's 3, 1 plus 4, that's 5, and 2 plus 5, that's 7. So that's what happens here. And equivalently, if I do this, I sum along the second axis, so that will give me one that has dimension 2, and the first entry is 3 because I sum 0, 1, and 2, and the second entry is 12 because I sum 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So that will be this exercise. So we're really, you're really getting a lot of information here, and maybe it's a little bit overwhelming, but hopefully with a little bit of practice you'll get familiar with it. But really, keep Google in mind. If you wonder how you want to do something with NumPy, simply trying to type in what you want to do as a question in Google and hitting enter is typically a very good way of approaching the problem. And ChatGPT is also excellent for these kind of questions. It really can give you natural answers for a lot of questions that are maybe not excellently posed. Okay, but we'll press on and look at the last exercise in the next video.